So, Gen.G took down BLG in the MSI finals this morning, 3 games to 1, and this is a pretty big deal. First off, because Chovy and Gen.G, this roster at least, has never won an international title. The only one who had before was Canyon when he was on Damwon, if I remember correctly. Other than that, this is everyone else's first international title, and Gen.G's first since 2017 Samsung beat SKT in World Finals. So congratulations to Gen.G, it is much deserved. This roster is completely insane, a ridiculously talented group of individuals, and really, really well done, much deserved, much love. What I really want to talk about though is, first off, the series dynamic overall. Now, it wasn't the most competitive series, it wasn't a not competitive series, but it was more competitive than the last time these two teams faced off. Last time they faced, it was a 3-1 in favor of Gen.G, but the games were all stomps. The one BLG won in Game 1 was a stomp, and pretty much all of the rest of them that Gen.G won were also stomps. This series was much more competitive. Even though it ended up being the same scoreline, the games were very, very close. A lot of them went pretty lengthy, especially Game 4. BLG, had an open nexus. They were really, really close to winning, and I think if they didn't obsess over trying to get the backdoor, they could have had a good chance of winning that game. So overall, I'm very pleased that we got a very competitive final series. Even though it didn't go the full 5 games, it was still really close. The teams matched each other well. Both teams showed up, in my opinion, and played pretty solid League. Obviously, both teams made mistakes. Both teams had great moments. That's the nature of League and competition. But I'm just glad that it wasn't a stomp either way and that it was a competitive series. That's really all we can ask for from an international final, especially cross-regional, which is always really, really hyped to see. So overall, my thoughts on MSI this year are really positive. The tournament was really, really fun to watch and keep up with and follow. All of the matchups, or at least most of them, were really hype, and I think the reason for that is because they were cross-regional. If you remember back to last MSI, we had a bunch of regional rematches, like Cloud9 facing Golden Guardians, Gen.G T1, BLG, and JDG, I think it was last year. Every team faced another team from their own region, and it was not very fun to watch because we pretty much knew who was going to win for the most part. But this year we had really, really banger matchups between regions with like SKT BLG, Gen.G BLG, G2 Top, G2 T1. It was really, really exciting and really fun to watch. I looked forward to every match really, and it was just, as a viewer, as a League fan, it was really, really enjoyable. So I think that's a big win for the tournament overall, just that the matchups and things of that nature were super exciting for the fans. Now I want to dive into a little bit of a more specific thing about Gen.G's win today. And I think that especially their Game 1 victory is really, really good for League. Is it going to mean anything or much at all in the grand scheme of things? Probably not, but it showcased something that I've been talking about for a long time now, and that is draft, creativity, and diversity. When I made my MSI patch preview champ tier list on the 14.8 patch, I said that there were 4 junglers that stood out above everyone else. They were Karthus, Evelynn, Fiddlesticks, and one other one I think it was. But those 3, Karthus, Eve, and Fiddle, have been turbo broken for years, and no one plays them. I've been saying for a long time now that pro players and pro teams have zero creativity, have zero willingness to try new things in draft, and that they just stick to the 30 to 40 quote-unquote meta champions that you see consistently, and I believe that that's just a result of groupthink and inability to think for themselves. When it comes to popular social or political issues, how a lot of people see something online and just immediately believe it without being able to think and form an opinion for themselves. It's the same thing that happens in League. A Korean team or a Chinese team comes up with a pick, and someone else tries it in scrims and has success, and they're like, okay, it's strong, so this is going to be meta, and this is the only champ we're going to see in that position for a long period of time. Okay, that's fine. But then you have to realize that there's over 160 champs in this game, and that I truly believe every single one of them can situationally be picked validly. And that's what we got to see today in Game 1 of the series. Gen.G pulled out a Karthus pick. Now, not only am I pleased at seeing, a new champ in draft diversity, but I'm also pleased at seeing Karthus in general. This champ is so Omegalodon broken, and no one plays it. And on that video, the champ tier list video for MSI that I mentioned before, one of the comments I got on that video from some guy said, Karthus, even Fiddle aren't playable in competitive, or something like that. And to that guy, I have to say, outside of you just being one of those victims of groupthink and not being able to actually think for yourself, you're just wrong. Because Evelyn has been played in pro in the past. She was meta a couple years ago. Karthus was played multiple times by Fnatic and other teams last year and was very successful. Fiddlesticks has also been very meta in the past. Inspired played Fiddlesticks a lot and had great success with it. These champions have been played and are able to be played. Any champion can be played in competitive. Some less likely and much more challenging than others, but this is the problem with pro players and pro teams. They have such a lack of willingness to try new things, and I'm so glad that Gen.G pulled out the Karthus today because it showed how broken this champ is and no one even pays attention to it. They'd rather face roll pick Sejuani and these useless early game junglers like Nidalee and Xin Zhao that don't do anything past 20 minutes, where you could just pick Karthus, permafarm your camps, and one-shot the entire team come 3 items. And you saw Canyon do that. The Karthus did a ridiculous amount of damage. The champ is just turbo broken, and I'm really glad that we got to see it. And I'm really hoping that this leads to more of this creativity and trying new picks. Like I said at the start of this segment, is it really going to lead to any real difference in terms of how pro teams approach drafts? No, probably not. But a guy can always hope. I think that, like I said, there are over 160 champs in League, and every single one of them has a situation where it's pickable. The meta, or what pro players define as the meta, sure, these champs are good for a reason, and I'm not saying that they're not strong with the exception of a few, but there are so many champs that if you just think for a second about champion teams and team comp dynamics in the draft, there are so many valid picks you could make, but they don't because they just know what's comfortable and what's quote-unquote accepted as the meta. And they don't have any willingness to try new things. They don't have any ability to think for themselves. I think a great team that doesn't do this is G2, pulling out picks like the Ivern and the Lilia. Really, really strong champions that have been strong for a while, but no one picks just because it's not commonly accepted or not picked a lot, even though these champions are insanely powerful in the right hands. So overall, needless to say, I'm just glad we got the Karthus pick. This is something I've been calling for a while. The champ's been broken for years. It's just brainless, it takes no skill, and you do the most damage out of any champion in the game. And I'm just glad that we got to see a good showing on it and it be successful. Because if Canyon picked the Karthus and they lost and the Karthus didn't look good, everyone would instantly jump on it and say, why did he pick Karthus? It's such a trash champion, blah, blah, blah. And that's not obviously the case. So either way, let me know what you guys think about this whole discussion about, draft creativity and champion diversity in pro play, and what you guys think about, the quote-unquote meta picks. I would be interested to hear some of your guys' takes. But do me a favor and actually explain a take instead of just saying that, these champs aren't playable or blah, blah, blah. Feel free to explain and give me some good thoughts there. Also, let me know what you guys thought about the series this morning, Gen.G becoming MSI champions, and what you thought of the MSI tournament overall. Was it good for League? Was it a successful experience? Was it a pleasant experience to watch as a viewer? A lot of good things for conversation, I think, came out of this tournament that I'm looking forward to discussing further. So that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.